Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gauntlet Calendar. My name is Mike. I will be your GM for a single session of the horror movie role-playing game, The Final Girl. Final Girl is a game by Brent Gillian, where we're going to put together like a kind of horror movie where there's a cast of characters and there's something that is going through and killing off these characters one by one. It's an interesting game. It's really cool. I've played it a few times. This is the first time I've facilitated this game, so please bear with me if I have to pause and look up a rule. But it's really straightforward, and I think we'll have a lot of fun. Couple of housekeeping things I want to get started with. Actually, before we do that, let's go around and let me say a few words about myself. So my name's Mike Ferdinando. I live in upstate New York. I've been playing role-playing games for a long time. I started playing all the way back in the early 1980s with like Tom Moldvay's basic D&D set, and I've played a lot of games over the years. My highlights were, I played a lot of D&D in the 80s. In the 90s, I mostly played GURPS and Champions. In the aughts, I mostly played. I played a lot of D&D 3.0, 3.5, and Amber Diceless role playing. In the teens, I mostly played a lot of Pathfinder. And then in 2015, I kind of fell into a group that was playing Dungeon World, and that was my real introduction to indie games. And I kind of jumped into the deep end of that pool. I've been primarily playing indie games since then. I joined the Gauntlet in 2018, started playing not long thereafter, and started GMing in 2020. And I've been a pretty active GM on the Gauntlet for the past year or so, especially during the pandemic. I gotta say one thing about the pandemic is I'm actually playing a lot more I'm playing a lot more RPGs than I had since I was in college. I've been yakking about myself. Let's go around the table and introduce yourselves. Harry, would you say hello and say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hello, I go by Harry, he, him pronouns. I've also been role-playing since about the mid-'80s, mainly traditional games and stuff, but I've been trying to drag my face-to-face group, Kicking and Screaming, into the story game era. Starting to see some traction there, but I just started playing on Gauntlet. This will be my second game. Or third session, second game. So kind of new, still got a little bit of the nerves and stuff like that. So I'll just see how things go.
Fantastic, glad to have you. I found the Gauntlet to be just one of the most open and accepting role-playing groups I've played with, and I just really love the play culture around here. So hope you have a similar experience, and I hope we have fun tonight. Clint, would you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, excuse me. Clint, he, him. I've been playing with the Gauntlet for about a year. And the first game I played, Mike, you ran not Dungeon World, Escape from Dino Island. That was you, right? Start vaguely remembering.
I was going to say, I've run Dino Island like 5 times on the Gauntlet, so
then,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was you.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, I thought your name looked familiar, but
yeah. So just been doing that for about a year. I'm really new to RPGs as a whole. It's only been like the last 4 years, and most of that's been like story games, powered by the apocalypse and whatnot. Very little D&D type of game experience, but that's who I am.
Very cool. Welcome. Glad to have you. Chuck, would you introduce yourself and say a few words?
Yeah, I'm Chuck. I'm a Gauntlet novice. With gaming, I go back to the Red Box, and I've played a bunch of 5e also. What else? I found out about you on, I saw you on the Paizo, the message boards. That's how I found out about those.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that is. I mentioned I played a lot of Pathfinder. I do still have a toe in the Pathfinder community.
Okay. Yeah. I see you on. I see you on there.
I'm mostly only if on the Pathfinder board on the Paizo boards. I'm mostly on the gamer life section. I don't really
Oh yeah.
engage with the Pathfinder rules much.
Yeah.
I have to say I played a lot of Pathfinder in the aughts. That was my absolute game of choice from like 2010 till about 2015. I'm still playing a little Pathfinder now and again, but it's not really my cup of tea anymore. But
Yeah.
I've just,
But you 2E doesn't. It's not your kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I played 2E. I played Pathfinder 2E for about not quite a year, and I just felt like it kind of bounced off of me.
Oh. Okay.
You know, it's I think it made some nods to story gaming, but anyway, glad to have you. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's so let me let's talk a little bit about this game. So the concept of this game is we're going to emulate a horror movie. We're going to create together. We're going to figure out what the premise of this movie is. We're going to figure out what the evil force is that's going around that's going around killing people. We're going to put together a cast of characters, and then we're going to play to find out who lives. The game is called The Final Girl. It's a reference to slasher movies where a killer is like killing people, and usually but not always, the last character still alive, it's usually a teenage girl, and she ultimately confronts the killer, and depending on the movie, she either she either gets killed at the very end, or she defeats, or she escapes. And that's why this game is called that. One thing I like about this game is we don't really know who's gonna survive to the end, because it's a little on the random side. Anyway, that's a concept of this game. The aim of this story is to tell a creepy, tense, and exciting story about a killer picking off characters one by one until only one remains. The tone of this game, again, it's a horror movie. So this game is indeed centered around some kind of force that's killing our characters off one by one. But we can decide once we start setting up our premise of this movie, how much tension, how action oriented do we want this to be claustrophobic and dread inducing? Do we want it to be a little more action oriented? Do we want it to be action horror? Do we want it to be action horror comedy? We'll figure that out. Usually I like to try to keep this game kind of serious, but we can play this. We'll have that discussion and figure that out once we work on what our story is going to be. And finally, on subject matter, this is a horror movie simulation game. There's going to be death, there's going to be gore, there's probably going to be tragedy. Any questions on CATS? That's concept, aim, tone, and subject matter before we go on. Okay, cool. Next thing we're going to do is talk about safety at the gaming table. In the email, I sent you all a link to a character keeper. If you could all pull that up. It should only have 2 tabs. I'm going to ask you to click on the Safety and Resources tab. And if you're there, if you could give me a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. Safety and resources. Okay.
Okay, cool. So we're a bunch of strangers or near strangers that are getting together to play a game on the internet. And the object of this thing we're doing is to have fun. The thing is, we all have different life experiences, and none of us know each other particularly well. So we're going to be using a number of safety tools to make sure that, or at least to mitigate the risk factors of playing a role-playing game. Because each of us is more important. Each of us individually are more important than this game we're playing together. We all have different life experiences. What may be absolutely fine for me to discuss may be a very sore difficult subject to you. So we're going to be using safety tools to try to both proactively avoid subject matters that some of us may find problematic. We'll also have some reactive tools such that, because sometimes sometimes you may not know the landmine is there until you step on it. So we're going to have some reactive tools that we can engage in case people feel uncomfortable during play. So the first tool that we're going to be using is called Open Door, and this is a tool that is about our own personal physical comfort. So Open Door means that we're all free to come and go from this game as we please. Anyone can call a break at any time. If anyone needs to step out of the game to decompress, or if your dog jumped up on the counter in the kitchen and you need to get them down, just excuse yourself, take the time you need, come back when you want to. I mentioned breaks. I'm going to call for some timed breaks. I like to call for breaks basically at the top of every hour. This game is scheduled to go for 3 hours. Also, the other thing is, if we get into this and you come to the conclusion this game is just not for me, it is absolutely no harm, no foul to say, hey folks, this game isn't for me. I'm going to check out. Absolutely 100% fine to realize that once we're into this game, that this game isn't for you and you would rather, do something else. Absolutely fine. That's Open Door. Does anyone have any questions on Open Door? Cool. The next tool we're going to talk about is a proactive emotional safety tool. And this is a tool called Lines and Veils. With Lines and Veils, we're going to, I'm going to give you all some time to think about subject matter that you don't want to deal with in a game. A veil is, if a subject is veiled, let me do this the other way, that's easier. If a subject is lined, that means we're not going to include it in the game. I won't introduce it, the other players won't introduce it. It's just, we're just not going to go there. If a subject is veiled, that means we maybe can acknowledge that this sort of thing happens. It's possible to find, your characters may find signs that it has happened. Like other characters may discuss it, but it's not going to happen on camera, and it's certainly not going to happen to any of the player characters. I have a list on this on our safety and resources tab of a number of subjects that some people have issues with. So I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes to go over that list and and go through and check any of these subjects as being either lined or veiled. If someone else has picked something that is veiled and you want to make that a line, go ahead and move that checkbox over. This is a living document. We can add things to it. And if there's subjects that you want to add to the list that aren't on there, please go ahead and type it in. You should all have edit access of this on this document. I'm going to pause the recording while we figure that out. Okay, we're back. We have our lines and veils. The third safety tool I want to talk about is a reactive safety tool. It's called the X card. And so you invoke anyone can invoke the X card at any time. Anytime something's happening in our gaming session that's making you uncomfortable. It is absolutely fine to invoke the X card. Some people hesitate. So the X card is so if you invoke the X card, it means we're going to pause the game. We're going to have a short discussion to figure out like what it is that we need to change in the game, and then what we should do to move forward. You can use the X card for anything you don't want to deal with in the game. That could be something that could be a subject matter that you didn't think to line or veil that we can then add to the list. It could be something simple like we've introduced a non-player character and it happens to be the name of like your boss at work that you really, really can't stand. Fine, we'll change the name. If we're in a situation where you really don't, if we're in like any other kind of situation that is making you as a player uncomfortable, and it's happening in the game, we can, we could either rewind, remove the problematic element, replay the scene, or we could just fast forward it, or we could just, cut and move on to the next scene. Or we could slow things down to do frame by frame just to, to talk about everything. We'll figure that out when it happens. One other thing I do like to bring up, if we try all of us need to try really, really hard not to do this, but I do want to bring this up. If in your enthusiasm, someone accidentally takes their eye off of the subjects that are lined and veiled and accidentally introduces something that was lined or veiled, please, someone else immediately X-card. We'll take it out and we'll just keep going. I as a GM try really, really hard not to do that, but we're all human. We all sometimes make mistakes. For me as a GM, that's more of a problem if I'm running a prepared module that had one of those elements that was in there. I have a couple of times in the past forgot to take them out because I was just in the enthusiasm, and that was bad on me. If it happens, please X card. We'll adjust, move on. Any questions on the X card? Cool. One other thing I like to mention that isn't exactly a safety tool, but this seems to be the right place to talk about it. If for some reason either my image freezes and then the Zoom quits because I'm the host, that might mean that I have lost internet. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen every once in a while. Or alternatively, if I look concerned off camera, get up, take off my headset and walk off camera, and then I don't come back for a while, maybe there's something going on in my house that I need to deal with personally. If for some reason I'm not here for 10 minutes and I don't let you know what's going on, assume that something has come up and that the game is over. I wish I could say that's never happened to me, but it has. I was actually running a game at PaizoCon online last year when we were about 45 minutes from the end of the session when somebody drove into a telephone pole, for real. Somebody drove into the telephone pole at the corner and knocked a telephone pole down, and my neighborhood lost power for the next 4 hours. Obviously, I got knocked off the internet. Hopefully that won't happen, but if it does, if I'm gone for 10 minutes, assume the game is over and take the rest of your day or evening back. This concludes our safety tools discussion. Does anyone have any questions about safety tools? Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the rules of this game. I'm just going to preface this by saying I've played the Final Girl twice. Once was straight. Once was just straight up is how we're going to play it. The other time I've played it was a twist by regular Gauntlet contributor Jim Crocker. He has a version that he likes to play that's called Batman: The Final Rogue. It's the same game. It's just that the victims are Batman villains and the killer is Batman. Other than that, the game's exactly the same. It plays out a little differently than the straight up version, and I've never facilitated the game out of the box. So that's kind of what I want to do. So in this game, this game is structured in scenes. So before we even start, we're gonna figure out what is the nature of this horror movie that we're going to do. If people are drawing blanks, I have a couple of ideas that I've drawn from Codex Blood, which had a miscellany of basically fake horror movies. So I've got a few of those that might be fun to play with if people haven't come up with anything better. So once we've come up with our premise, then we're going to come up with a cast of characters. So we have 4 players, myself included. I'm facilitating the game, but I'm also going to be playing because this game is GM-less. So we're going to do scenes. One player is going to be the killer. That's the sort of GM role for the scene. They're the person who plays the killer. They also play any other not unnamed NPCs that might be in a scene. and the rest of us will basically pick one of the characters that we've created, and we'll play out this scene. We're gonna have three. We're gonna have three, and these scenes they're short. They're maybe if we're going more than 10, if we're going more than 15 minutes in a scene, that's probably a bit too long, and we should wrap it up. So the scenes are there to establish or change relationships between the characters in the scene. There's three kinds of scenes. The first three scenes are called introductory scenes. This is where we introduce our cast of characters, and we establish the relationships between the characters. And relationships are important. And we can think of those as like the first three scenes of the horror movie before the killer shows up. That's kind of like establishing the world, establishing like what normalcy is before everything gets terribly interrupted. We are each going to be creating three characters, and they're all going to be going into a common pool. And when we set a scene, the players will each pick a character. You don't have to pick a character that you created. In fact, the last time I played this, I think I only played one of the characters I created in one scene, and the rest of the time we were picking other characters. So there'll be three characters in a scene. In the introductory scene, we just play through the scene. In the introductory scenes, the thing we're looking to do is to establish relationships between the characters. And you can have one of three. A pair of characters can have one relationship between the two of them, and those relationships are friendship, rivalry, or frenemies. I will mention that the actual game doesn't use frenemies. It uses the term screwing as a kind of a nod to 80s slasher flicks, and that word has two meanings. I decided to replace that with frenemies just because A, I don't really like that word, and B, I think that opens up more possibilities. If your characters are rivals during an action scene, rivals can try to stab each other in the back. If your friends is your relationship, you have the opportunity to assist your friends in action scenes. And if you're frenemies, you can do either. When we get to the resolution, this game uses playing cards for resolution, and there is a link on. Actually, it's on both the characters tab and also on the safety and resources tab. There's a link to card table, and that's going to go to a shared card table on playingcards.io. You can open up that link. If you've never used playingcards.io before, I'll go over that really briefly when it comes up. It's going to be at least 4 scenes. It's going to be at least 5 scenes before we go to the cards. And so when we engage that, so basically when the killer strikes in the scene, the killer is going to attempt to kill all of the characters that are in the scene. And the way that's resolved is basically it's with a quick card draw. And the resolution, it's basically the game War. You draw a card, the killer draws a card, and then everyone else draws a card, and you also draw extra cards for however many relationships you have with another character. And you just try to beat the number. Aces high, deuces low. In the case of a tie, I thought this is cute. In the case of a tie, so if the killer has a 10 and you play a 10, sharp beats round, bloody beats black. So spades and diamonds. So a spade. So spades and diamonds are sharp. So a spade or a diamond will beat a club. A spade or a diamond will beat a club or a heart. And bloody beats black, which means red beats black. So basically diamonds are high, and so diamonds are high and clubs are low. in terms of the suit ranking. So there's never going to be a true tie. And we'll discuss that once we actually get to the first blood scene. We'll talk a little bit more about the mechanics of how that's going to work. It works pretty well. So the killer character will attempt to kill characters in sequence until someone does die in the scene. We narrate their death. That's the end of the scene. We move on to the next scene. So the first 3 scenes are introductory scenes, like I said. So in this game, in these scenes, the idea is to establish relationships between them, and we'll figure that out, like how the characters interact with each other. The more relationships you have, the more cards you get to draw. So it's good to have some characters that have more relationships because that makes you a little more resilient. So we're going to have 3 introductory scenes where we establish relationships. Then we have a scene called First Blood. With First Blood, we pick the characters that have the fewest number of relationships. And in First Blood, we start it out as if it's a normal scene with these characters interacting with each other. But that's when the killer will strike. And in the First Blood scene, the killer just kills off those characters. There's no resolution. Whoever's playing the killer gets to describe how they kill these characters, and they're taken out of the game. And then we go into like regular scenes until there's only one character left. That character, and once we are at a scene where there's only one survivor, that character is the final girl, and they get to narrate how they escape. And we'll have a conclusion. I threw a lot of information. It'll make more sense once we actually start playing, but that was kind of like 10,000 foot overview of how this game works. So I guess our first thing that we want to do is figure out what is the nature of our horror movie. Is it, are we on a submarine? Are we, is it 1980s and we're at a summer camp? Are we all at the South Pole? Are we on a spaceship? Anyone have any ideas?
Let's see. I kind of prefer a little bit more like Clive Barker, Hellraiser, something like that. I mean, I don't know if we can build a premise in there, but that's only if everybody else wants to.
Okay, so you're thinking kind of like, I'm sorry, go on. Lynn?
I was going to say, will you define what that means? Because I don't think I've seen a Hellraiser.
Okay, so Clive Barker is as to Stephen King. Okay, Clive Barker did a lot of religion, sex, and stuff like that was involved with what you call the horror and stuff like that. We don't need to do the sex part or anything like that, but his stuff was just considered, in my opinion, just a step or two above, King's more, Midwestern horror is what I'd like to call it. But it would probably have religious overtones. That might not be everybody's cup of tea.
I mean, I'm not anti that. I just don't know it.
If you haven't seen Hellraiser, then
I saw Hellraiser. I saw Hellraiser on the big screen when it came out, and I think that was the last time I saw it. So, and I haven't read a lot of Barker. I mean, I think I read one. I think I read a couple of Barker novels a long time ago, but I'm not super familiar with his work.
Yeah, he gets way out there, but. Yeah,
I think I read a collection of short stories by him again, like maybe back in the 90s.
Yeah, probably Books of Blood or
Books of Blood. Yeah, that was the name of it. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, I like horror movies now and again. I'm not a big. I don't read a lot of horror fiction.
Should we mix that in with another genre and do two at the same time?
I mean, we could, the other way, I mean, that's absolutely cool. The other thing we can just do is like try to figure out, like what is our setting? Does it want to, do we want it to be like, modern? I mean, do we want it to be modern day? Do we want it to be historical? Do we want it to be like in the future?
I would like it to not have cell phones in it.
Okay.
So like, early 90s. So somebody might have a cell phone, but it's going to be like, not everybody. At least that would be my vote.
Okay. That would, I'm totally up with that. So we want to do like, okay. So we've got a setting in the early 90s. I guess the next question is, do we want the setting to be, more urban, more rural, or kind of suburban? That might set the kinds of, that'll set the kinds of, if it's urban, then we'll be able to have scenes that are, in like, dark alleyways, or in, like, we have things in dark alleyways, or in, like in like an industrial zone, or if we wanted to be rural, that would be like running around. Clint, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool if it was like a suburb that's like a housing development that only has one way in or out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a gated community. Yay.
Yeah, yeah.
Love it. Chuck, does that sound good to you, or you have a different idea?
That's cool. I mean,
okay.
I was thinking I like scary woods kind of stuff, like Blair Witch, that kind of stuff. But
well, the thing about suburban is we could certainly have woods nearby.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was thinking woods, which is why I picked a woods background behind me here. Okay, so I think so. It's going to be early '90s. It's going to be kind of it's going to be it's going to be in like a suburban community. Who do we want our protagonists to be? I mean, do we want them to be teenagers? Do we want them to be, do we want them to be grown-ups? Do we want it? I mean, I've never played this way, but I've heard of a game that was set in like one of those gated retirement communities where everybody was retirees, which could be interesting. I don't necessarily know if I necessarily want to do that tonight, but I'm just tossing that out there as a possibility. I mean, teen drama is it's pretty de rigueur for the genre, but there's plenty of others that have dealt with,
Well, if we have a tight-knit suburban community, it could have the entire range of ages.
Sure.
And then we'll get the best of all worlds.
Okay. So I think we have a setting. It's going to be, so this is going to take place in a gated community in the early 90s that has kind of like an gated community. I think that generally means, like middle to upper middle class is going to be the majority of is going to be what we're looking at. I think. Cool. Love it. So I guess the next question is, who or what is the killer? And again, it doesn't have to be an axe wielding madman. It could be, it could be an alien invasion, and the aliens are killing people or abducting people or something like that. It could be a swarm. It could be a swarm. It could be a swarm of intelligent radioactive cockroaches. It could be a zombie apocalypse. It could be an axe wielding maniac.
Using the gated community and suburbs in the 90s, the suburbs themselves could be being overcome by door-to-door salespeople that are using that as a front to case places and people to kill. It's like Mary Kay, or Amway salesman, or.
That's really cool. I like that. But I'm up with other ideas as well. A killer.
I mean, the idea of murderous Mary Kay salesman is pretty great.
So it's a murder. So basically, it's the murderous Avon. So it's a murderous Avon lady.
Yeah, I think I would picture her probably like middle-aged and very disarming, so it doesn't look like that she's a person. Like I think the most recent horror movie, which was Ma, it was the older lady that was partying with the teenagers, and then she just went psycho. You know, something that's just disarming.
So the killer is a murderous. The killer is a murderous door-to-door cosmetics saleswoman. She's got to have a cool name. Oh, maybe, like maybe the authorities are after her, but they don't, but they haven't tracked her down yet, and they've got like a code name for her. Or maybe that's the title of the movie. Well, we could figure that out. I like the idea.
We'll work on that.
I do like the idea that the killer is the killer is a deranged cosmetics saleswoman. That is really cool. Are we all on board for that, or do we want to consider a different idea? Awesome. Okay, we've got our setting. We've got the nature of our killer. We can now create our cast of characters. So there's 4 of us playing. We've like 10 to 15 characters is about what we want for this game. With 4 players, this is easy. Let's do 12. Let's each make 3 characters. So the characters are paper thin. All that we know about these characters are like what the viewers of the people watching this movie would be seeing. They don't. I mean, so this game, your characters, they don't have skills, they don't have hit points, they don't have stats. There's no combat per se. I mean, other than the action scene when the killer strikes. And if the killer strikes, we'll narrow. So when the killer strikes, we'll do the card resolution, and then we'll figure out how the scene plays out, and we'll tell that story. So the way we're going to do this now, normally if we were playing face to face, we'd be doing this with index cards, where each of us as players would take 3 index cards, and we'd write down the character's name and a real brief description. So let me actually just read from the book here. So I mean, so your character should be basically you write it up in a single. You write up your character in a single sentence, and that's really all we really need to start with. And it's usually like name the adjective noun. So like Wally the gruff janitor, or Brock the arrogant quarterback. Or anything that can be summed up in a sentence that would work. Again, this is another example from the book. Rex, the guy who can't stop talking about how strong he is. And that's all we need to go by these to start with these characters. And then when we enter a scene, okay, cool, you started doing that. We're going to use color coding to determine who is playing a given character in a given scene. And I'm just going to say this right now. I meant to mention this during our safety tools when we were off camera. I've used color coding in the past. It's just that not everyone. Color coding may be a problem for some people. If that is an issue, we can do shading. We could do something else. I just like color coding because it's quick. If color coding is an issue, we'll come up with something else. But is color coding okay? Awesome. So yeah, looks like Harry already put their name in. So yeah, basically pick a color and put your name in. I'm gonna pick blue for player 3. if you are playing a character that dies, we're going to, like as a consolation prize, there's the character who is playing the largest number of characters that got killed gets to basically do the they get to do the epilogue scene. So we'll also keep track of like who like how many characters. Like, we'll also figure out like who died. The way we'll do that is we'll pretty much just we'll make a note that the character is dead, and we'll just leave the character that color.
Okay, so the way the characters are set up, it looks like there's like 4 rows of 3. So I'm going to take the E row for the last.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say the way this is set up. Yeah, I didn't know if Usually when I play this game, there's either 3 or 4 players. So basically people either take columns or they take rows. There's 4 of us, so why don't we each take a column? If you want to take a few minutes to, everyone can now take a few minutes to think about the 3 characters you want. I'll take column E. If that is, looks like someone's already typed. I'll take column C then, if that's okay.
I guess I'll take B since I'm player 1.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Why don't I take
I jumped on E because I was player 4.
No. That totally makes that makes a lot of sense. Why don't we just do that? Yeah. Yeah, you're player 4. You take E. I'm player 3. I'll take D. Yeah, let's just take a few minutes. We'll come up with our characters, and then we'll introduce. Then we'll just like briefly introduce our characters. And
should we do it as we're making them so we're not like overlapping?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Why don't we? That is not a bad idea.
My first one is Elijah. My first one is Elijah McLean. He's the old Scottish caretaker. He lives somewhere in the vicinity.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Looks like Chuck's got one. Or I'm sorry, it looks like who wrote Shannon?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we've got Shannon, the fresh-faced EMT. I'm gonna have and she is the so we've got Helen Zhang. She's the matronly busybody. Looks like we also got Ethan, the teenage golf phenomenon.
Yeah, and Morgan Chambers, she's the head of the homeowners association. And then Johnny Snyder, I'm gonna make him a blue collar mechanic. Okay, yeah, I think there it goes.
Have Casper Wexler. He is the land developer for this area, this subdivision.
Nice.
And lastly, Brock, the local skater punk.
Nice. I'm introducing Arnie Weisberg, who is obsessed with having the best lawn. And finally, I'm going to have she's the how do I want to? Yeah, what do I want her to be? We got Maxine Jones. She's a divorced ICU nurse. Okay, we have a cast of characters. We have a killer. We have a setting. I think we're ready to play. It is a few minutes before the hour. Why don't we call a break? Yeah, I've got. Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Let's see. I got 56 past. Why don't we come back at like 1 minute past the hour? Awesome. See you in a few. Pause the recording. And we're back. All right. So we're gonna have our first introductory scene. So I'm just gonna read some of the text out of the book just so that we're all on the same page here. So introductory scenes allow you to introduce the characters you're interested in and develop relationships without a murderer sticking a knife into your back. Once a premise is established and the characters have been cast, you need to do 3 introductory scenes. Nobody ever dies in the introductory scenes. It's just free open role play. So at the beginning of the scene, one player will be responsible for framing and for ending the scene. If you're the only one who's read the rules, it should probably be you. And it looks like we just lost Chuck.
Oh no.
Oh, here he is. And he's back.
Technical fun.
Yeah, it happens. The downside of online gaming. Chuck, you back? We lost you there for a moment. Okay. So I'm gonna frame the introductory scene because I'm the one who's read the rules and has played this a couple of times. So basically, I'm going to frame the scene, say what's going on, and then each of you will pick one of these characters that we've described to be in the scene, and then we'll just have some open role play. The point of these introductory scenes is, 1, pick the characters that you find are the most interesting, and 2, establish relationships between the other characters. And we'll, depending on how you're role playing, we may break character and say that, hey, it sounds like you're trying to establish this kind of relationship between these 2 characters. And if you agree, go ahead and write that relationship down. The characters, the more, the characters with the most relationships, they're the ones who are they're the ones who are the most developed, and therefore they're the ones that are going to have they're the ones who are more likely to survive farther into the movie, because they're the ones that the audience will presumably be most interested in. Let's see. So yeah, and basically we play a short scene until it feels like it's a natural end, and we can usually tell when the scene feels like it's kind of winding down. And and usually the person who set the scene will say, okay, and cut. So we're going to do 3 of these introductory scenes. I'll do the first one, and then maybe we'll just kind of like, I'll do the first one, and then maybe we'll just kind of like go down that player list. So we'll do this scene, we'll do 2 others, and then we'll get to First Blood. And when we start the First Blood scene, I'll explain how that one goes. It's pretty much like the first 3 scenes, but it ends very differently. So the other thing about these intro scenes is there is no killer. So we're just gonna role play out until the scene kind of loses steam, and we feel like we've gotten to a good spot. So let's say we are at what is the name of our gated community? Because they tend to have names. And honestly, they're usually named, at least in the areas of the country where I've lived. Communities like this are usually named after the flora or fauna that used to be there before they were chopped down, drained, or killed off to build the gated community.
I was totally in that same space. I was trying to think of a really majestic sounding tree that got chopped down. Like Magnolia Groves.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So I think so. Let's set the scene. It is it's Saturday morning. I'm going to say it's probably it's early. It's Saturday morning. It's like early summer. And we just lost. Looks like we just lost Chuck again, but we'll bring him up to speed when he comes back. It's early summer. I'm just going to say it's. Oh, he's back. So let's.
Sorry.
No problem. It happens.
Yeah, my internet. I don't know. It's weird.
It happens. Don't worry about it. Okay, so it's going to be early summer. It's outside. We're going to say so the opening credits of the movie. Bright, sunny, beautiful day. Like shots of like establishing shots of like the kind of houses that are here. I'm thinking most of them are like. I'm thinking this development. It's probably a mix of like larger single family homes, and also they look about the same, but the lower price ones are duplexes. They're either single occupant homes, or they're basically condos. So we do we have some establishing shots of like what this looks like. There's someone watering their lawn. It's a beautiful summer day. There's some kids. There's some kids playing basketball with just a basketball hoop that's set up in someone's driveway that's held down by a couple of sandbags. There's some kids riding their bikes around. And as the camera goes in, it goes past the gate that says Magnolia Groves. And I think this scene is just going to be kind of like that. We're gonna zoom in on maybe there's a few people that are kind of like working on their lawn, working on their gardens, working on their car in front of the house. So this first scene is just going to be outdoors, beautiful summer day. It's kind of like, it's mid-morning, and there's some neighbors that are, and there's some people that are just, out and about interacting with each other. So let each of you, let's let each of you pick a character, and then we'll just have the scene. So each of you pick a character that it doesn't have to be one that you created. It could be any character that anyone created that appeals to you.
I'm gonna grab Ethan Hill on my character.
Okay, you have Ethan Hill, the teen golf phenomenon. So go ahead and okay, cool.
I'm taking Morgan Chambers, head of the
Okay.
HOA.
Okay, so Harry, you said you're going to take Ethan. We're gonna color code.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how do you color code it? I don't know how to do that.
Oh yeah. So basically, it's kind of like Excel. So go ahead and highlight the cells. And there's like a paint bucket icon on the toolbar. It says fill color.
Okay.
And you can click that and then just like pick the color and then just pick the color that matches yours. It'll be the first row. For this one, it'll be under the purple. So I can actually do that. I can actually do that for you right now.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit technically challenged.
No problem. No problem. I mean, I've made a bunch of character keepers, so I've gotten pretty good at Google Sheets, but I know not everyone has. So I set the scene, so I don't have a character in the scene.
Is it just between the two of them, or?
So yeah, Note and Chuck, you should also pick a character. So we're gonna have three characters. We're pretty much always gonna have three characters in a scene.
I think Ethan, are you practicing golf somewhere?
I think it's early weekend morning. Yeah, he's probably coming back from his morning, what you call it, round, driving a BMW down the street and pulling up into the front of his house.
Because Morgan's gonna come up and accuse you of hitting a golf ball through the neighbor's window.
Love it.
Okay.
And Chuck, do you have a character that you want?
I'm trying to figure it out.
That's okay.
Yeah. So how do I highlight this?
Basically, just it's kind of like Excel. Go ahead and highlight just like drag and drop and select the cells, and then in the menu bar, there's a paint can that says fill color.
Oh.
So if you click on that, you can then pick the color that matches your basically pick the palest green one, because that's the one that matches your player color. Cool. So you're gonna be Shannon.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just gonna do the whole thing here, just so that there we are, just so that we don't take our eyes off of it. So awesome. So so we've established that Ethan's driving. So we've established Ethan's driving up in his BMW.
I guess he'd pull into the driveway, and as he's getting out of the car, which I guess Morgan would be approaching him to start yelling at him or something.
Yeah, Morgan, she comes like stomping down the street, just her finger pointing. She's like, I know it was you. I know it was you. You hit the golf balls through everyone's house. You've done it again.
He sighs as he's getting the clubs out of the trunk, and he closes the trunk and he looks back to her and he says, like, how many times do I have to tell you I'm good at golf? None of those balls coming into those houses is mine, and you can't prove it. Now get off my lawn, you busybody.
You're that good that you know exactly how to get it in the window and not hit the side of the house.
No, you just don't understand the concept of golf.
I was going to say, how do we want to get Shannon into this scene?
Yeah.
Could he be in? Is it he or she?
I think Shannon's a she.
Okay. She could be a neighbor, or
was she maybe? I don't know. She could have been like,
or she might have answered some calls of somebody being hit by a golf ball and might want to jump in on the conversation as it's happening.
Or she could just be out there trimming her hedges. Up to you. However you want to introduce her. It's just we need to have her in the scene.
Okay, so she comes out of the house next door. She's dressed in her, like, she's going to work. She's dressed in her, whatever you call that, like your, jumpsuit, uniform, whatever. I guess she heard the disturbance. She's like curious and slightly concerned. She sees the two. She sees Ethan and Morgan kind of going back and forth, and she approaches. With friendly kind of interest. It says, "Is everything okay? I heard something going on. No, nobody's hurt, I hope." Nobody's hurt, yes.
Ask her. She probably knows whoever's got a hangnail in this neighborhood. And with that, he closes the trunk and he does the bleep bleep on the car as he's trying to get away from Morgan as quickly as possible, kind of using his clubs so that she can't get up close to him.
She says, "Morgan, you're the hangnail around here."
I'm clearly getting rivalry vibes between these two. So so I'm gonna. But anyway, let's just keep.
He hefts the clubs onto his shoulders and he sighs again and he just starts walking towards the door. He said, if you have any complaints, just bring it up with my dad. He's a lawyer. You already know that, though. and he just kind of stomps off. He kind of winks at the EMT as he goes by, because this guy's a complete and total douchebag of the highest sort.
Shannon kind of she kind of blushes and like, same old Ethan.
Are they frenemies, or are they friendship?
I was gonna say, do they have a friendship, or are they kind of like frenemy, or like? Do you have a friend? Do you want to be like frenemies with each other? Do you want to have another scene? Do you want to introduce these two in another scene to play that out more, or play it out more here?
With frenemy, it could be which something develops on the way. He's got a small eye for her. Yeah.
Well, she was a few years ahead of him in school, and he was interested, but she was older, so she wasn't interested.
I could see this sort of thing where maybe she was a senior when he was a freshman in high school, but I also see Ethan as being the kind of be like, "Hello, ladies."
What's called? It's been when he was a freshman and she was a senior. He hadn't grown into his good looks, so yet. So he's like hitting that that really annoying level of testing his machismo.
Got it. So I'm actually thinking this might be the scene, as you know, as Ethan, like, like, huh, whatever, Morgan, beep beep, goes into his house. Oh, hi, Shannon, wink. And did you, like, Chuck, did you say Shannon just kind of like shook her head at that, or what was her reaction?
Yeah, I mean, she was like slightly amused, but like, like an that kind of.
I think that might be I think sounds like maybe a frenemies relationship between those two characters.
Yeah,
I'm good with it.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and each of you put that other character as a frenemy. And it's possible to have multiple. It's possible to have rivalries and friendships and whatnot with more than one character. Yeah. I'm just going to type Ethan in there. Okay, cool. I think that's the scene. We've established some characters. We established a little bit of like life. We established a little bit of life of life here. It could either go in order, or if we have a volunteer who wants to do who wants to set the next scene, that's also
Okay.
Okay. So go. So you go ahead and set the scene, and then the rest of us will pick characters.
So the next scene, we cut to the inside the. So the development is basically a big giant circle with some branching streets that go around, and in the middle somewhere there's like a green space that has a small playground, and there's a smallish pool, and then next to the pool there's a clubhouse. Who's in the scene? Who's in the pool playground scene?
Pool and playground. Let's see.
Okay, so Brock is there. He's not supposed to be like hanging out there with his loser like teenage friends around little kids, but they're just being jerks and like skateboarding or whatever.
I think Elijah McLeod, the caretaker, is going to be there.
Cool. Is Brock and his teenage friends causing Elijah stress with the
what's
maintenance?
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah. You've been doing those, you've been doing the, it's like, you damn kids, there's no skateboarding. In fact, Elijah points to a sign that's like posted in the ground, which says no skateboards, roller skates, rollerblades, which I like to think you've used to like jump up and do tricks off of the sign.
Okay, so this is a green area in the middle of a neighborhood. I'd say standing out and watching this from his front lawn and just kind of laughing to himself is Johnny Moon with his gray ponytail, New Age shop proprietor. He's just sitting there with a cup in his hand and like seeping a tea bag in it, and he's kind of laughing at the interplay or whatever. Every once in a while he'll shout some words of encouragement to the skater kids of like, nice trick. Something along those lines.
So Elijah's there. I think he's got like so Elijah's there. He's I think he had been on his hands and knees with like a trowel and he's got a wheelbarrow, and there's like a bunch of potted asters in there, and he's been planting. He's been pulling out the tulips that are starting to fade, and he's putting in summer plants in the flower beds, and he's shouting at and he hears he hears the skateboards go by and like jump up, and they're scraping across the curbs, and he puts his trowel down, and he doesn't put his back. He stands up and he's gesticulating with the trowel. Brock and M kid, how many times have I told you? You don't skateboard around here. You're messing up those marble curbs.
Brock says, "Get bent, dude." And then he slaps his friends 5. They're like,
Oh, come on, Elijah. You were young once a century ago. Let the kids have their fun.
Oh, sure. You're the one to talk.
Hey, man, I'm all about nature. I love the fact you get your lawn that green. You should come over and give me some tips sometime.
Oh, to that he puffs up a little bit. Oh, well, I'd be happy to. Those funny looking plants you got in the back of your yard, though. You might want to do a better job hiding those.
Oh, no worries. It's almost legal.
Not in 1993.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's got a what's it called? He has something to look forward to. He's fighting the good fight.
So
Brock says, "Hey, Johnny, can we get some of the good stuff?"
Oh, well, come around at the right time, and you might find a bag up under the front porch.
Well, thanks, dude.
Just drop the regular payment right there in the little flower pot, and everything will be all good.
Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah, at that conversation, once that conversation starts to happen, Elijah shakes his head and just kind of walks back to the flowers and is doing like I see nothing. I did not hear any of that conversation.
What's the regular payment?
Let's see your 90s, like $20.
Okay, so it's actual money. Cool. So I think that's the scene.
I think that is. I think Elijah and Brock clearly have a rivalry, and I think Elijah and Johnny may kind of have frenemies things going on because he doesn't exactly approve. But or what were you going for? What were you going for?
I think between Johnny and Brock, I would say.
I'm sorry. I was thinking between. I was thinking. I'm sorry. Between Elijah and Johnny.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably maybe on the edge of a rivalry, if you want to put it there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was going to be a rivalry or friendship because he doesn't approve, but at the same time you can't.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe they.
Can I be friends with both?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have multiple. Yeah, you can have multiple.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking Elijah and Johnny who had frenemies. Because we've got they don't approve, but they maybe. The way I was trying to play that was he doesn't approve of your pot use, but he does approve of your gardening skills.
No, Johnny could be friends with Elijah, but Elijah could be frenemies with Johnny, right? They don't have to match, do they?
They do have to match with each other.
Okay.
So if Johnny and Brock want to be friends, if Johnny and Brock are friends, they're friends in both directions.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, and you were saying that you wanted Elijah and Johnny to have a bit of a frenemy thing.
Yeah, I think frenemy.
Okay.
Okay. Just to do one little quick format thing because it's with all the with the changing highlight colors, it's kind of hard to like. It's annoying to be switching that header row back and forth. So I'm just going to throw a heavy border. I'm just going to throw a heavy border down as separators. There we go. Okay. Okay, that was our second scene. We have one more introductory scene where we just establish where the characters establish relationships with each other. Who would like to frame the scene? Harry or Chuck? Either of you have a preference?
Do you have an idea, or? I think I was gonna lean towards Tony Glass, the jaded cop, kind of like a break off from the last scene that we just had. You see the camera pan across or whatever, and Tony's sitting in his car, chewing his nails as he's watching and the skate punks and the one guy he gets a small camera out and takes a picture and puts it away and then he gets out of his car and
okay, so I mean, generally the way you want to do this is like frame the scene. Like when you're setting the scene, you frame the scene, and then the other players figure out like character. I like where you're going with that. So I think framing the scene. I'm happy to. Who was the retired cop? Yeah, I'm happy to take Tony Glass, the retired cop, as one of the characters in this scene. But if you want to frame it, it's kind of, you were saying it was kind of like a continuation of the previous scene.
Yeah, it's just like after that scene happens, the camera pans over to connect to this scene, and it starts with the jaded cop in his car like that. He takes the picture, he gets out, and then walks up to his house, which is like probably a street over or something, and then has an encounter with one or two of the other characters as he's kind of fuming and
Okay, I'll take that character.
So are we still like near the playground or something?
I was going to say that's where the person. Well, that is where the person who's framing the scene basically says basically sets up where this scene is going to take place.
I would say it's like probably like a street over, because he was watching it through two neighbors' lawns and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I love that.
It's like one street over.
So he also sees Johnny Snyder, the blue collar mechanic, who's like just out of the goodness of his heart, he does a little work here and there for the town, like like if equipment on the playground needs like bolts tightened or just stuff like that. Like he'll just do it. It's fun for him, and he likes to help out around civic, something or other. So he's just kind of, I don't know, playing a wrench here and there. Like,
So we're at Johnny's house.
Yeah, it could be like the street over, Johnny's out working on his car. The cop is getting out of his car.
Oh wait, I just noticed we got two characters named Johnny that we might want to.
Let's hear Johnny.
Yeah, we got Johnny Moon and Johnny Snyder. Can we maybe, since we've already established Johnny Moon, would it be okay to change Johnny Snyder's first name to something else?
Sure. Let me do that real quick. Let's make it Vernon Snyder.
Okay.
And
fantastic.
And for this scene, I was gonna take Casper Wexler, the land developer, and
if you're
set that up as,
if you're framing the scene, you don't have a character in the scene. You're just kind of like you're setting the scene. You're okay to introduce other elements, but it's up to the other players to actually like do the interaction.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No. That's totally okay. It's especially if you do a lot of GMing, it's kind of hard to not do that.
Yeah.
So we got Tony Glass, we got Vernon Snyder in this scene, and so Clint, who do you want to introduce?
I'm just trying to make sure I'm still trying to make sure I understand. We're at Johnny's house.
Well, yeah, and he's on like a street over from
right,
the scene that just happened.
And you're playing it that the cop has been staking him out for I'm guessing marijuana use.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, in that case, I mean, it would, I'm
going to be Morgan again.
Okay. And we'll just say Johnny Moon is still by the gazebo and playground.
Yeah, just standing there.
Okay.
Before Tony heads over to the house, Morgan pops her head up from the back of the car, and she's like, "I told you, he's growing weed back there."
Yeah, I kind of thought he was. Yeah, I kind of thought he was the sort. But he's and he's looking at Tony's got a pair of like one of those like small binoculars, and he's looking through them. And
go arrest him. You need to go arrest him. Do it now.
Yeah, probably do need to. Yeah, I'm gonna call. Probably need to call for backup though. I mean, I'm off duty.
Well, you arrest him, then you can come over and I'll make you your favorite little shepherd's pie.
Oh, that shepherd's pie is pretty good. Pretty good. So, so Tony kind of so Tony looks at Tony looks at Morgan and says, "Now, those plants aren't going anywhere. What's the rush? What do you want to, I mean, yeah, we got to get them off the street.
We live in a society. That's why.
Mm.
This cannot be going on in Magnolia Groves. This is a good, clean, wholesome community."
All right.
And she gets out of the car and gives him a little nice little come on, do your job.
Yeah. You see so the camera's still outside, it's from Morgan's perspective looking in, and you see him pull up the radio, and it's the 90s, so it's like the old style radio that had the microphone and the heavy the heavy coiled cord that went in. And you don't actually hear him because the windows are rolled up. But it's a summer day. The windows were rolled up, and he's got the air conditioning on. Also, so that people couldn't see him through the tinted windows, that he was in there, like looking through his binoculars. And yeah, so you can see his silhouette, and he's he's clear. He's on the two-way radio.
Can I, as framing part of the scene, can I tell what happens with the little conversation on the radio when Tony calls it in?
Oh, sure, we can do that.
So basically, what I'm thinking is that as he calls this in, is it's a small town, small police force or whatever, and Tony's a jaded cop. He's also an overzealous cop, so he gets into an argument with his dispatcher, who's saying, "It's the weekend. Why are you bothering us?" Something along those lines.
Got it.
You're not even on duty.
Yeah. To which Tony responds like, "Yeah, I know it's the weekend. Yeah, if this can probably wait till Monday. Trying to call it in. The HOA president's kind of on my ass about it. I don't care if somebody's smoking pot, as long as he's not selling it to kids."
All right. So Vernon, from a couple of houses down, he emerges from the garage of his house, like, and he's in his whatever you call that, like a what a mechanics wear, like a jumpsuit kind of thing. It's covered with grease. He notices Tony parked there, and he's holding like a wrench or something. He sees Tony there, so he walks out and says, "Oh, hey Tony, how you doing? How's the car running?"
At that, as Tony sees Vernon approach, he ends the call with dispatch, and I'm going to say Tony's. It's a cop car, but it's an unmarked cop car. But it's one of those unmarked cop cars that if you know what you're looking at, it is totally a cop car.
Yeah.
It's got the giant whip antenna off the back. It's got those like little nubs for hubcaps. It's got the heavy reinforced bumpers on both ends. Oh, and it's and of course it's a Chevy Impala. No. This is 1993. It's a Chevy Caprice Classic.
Oh, I was thinking a Crown Vic, but.
Oh yeah, probably would have been the Crown Vic.
Yeah, Crown Vic.
Yeah, it's a Crown Vic. That Tony gets out. Tony gets out of the car. Vernon extends his hand. Nice to see you. How you doing? How's the car's running fine?
Oh,
how's
that's
that?
good. I thought I figured I just had to swap out, a couple of the Aviators and it looked like you had a little funky Aviators.
How's the work on the '63 Camaro coming?
Oh, I've been so busy with other stuff, just the regular stuff, oil changes, rotating the tires, all that junk. I haven't been able to work on it much lately, but it's here and there when I get a few minutes.
Got it. That car you're with, that old car you're working on. My dad used to have one just like it.
Oh yeah, that's a beaut. Yeah, what color was it?
Oh, candy apple red. What else with candy apple red? Of course.
Oh
man, that thing. Oh man, that like on a straightaway. I mean, you could get that car up to 150 miles an hour.
Sure. Yeah, that's a real classic.
Don't crash it though, because those things are death traps.
No, you definitely don't.
You hear Morgan coughing in a tone, like a good block away. You hear her like doing that, and then she just turns back. So Tony turns towards Morgan and just kind of waves like very, very, as if very, very friendly, but as soon as her back is turned, he just kind of like shakes his head.
Vernon's like, yeah, that's old Morgan for you.
I mean, she's a great cook, she's a great leader, but I wish she'd just leave. Sometimes I wish she'd just let people live their lives.
Yeah, well, she does a good job here in our community, so I guess we need people like that around.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I think the scene's probably.
I was going to say this feels like end of scene.
Yeah.
So I think so I'm getting friendship vibes between Tony and Vernon.
And frenemy between Morgan and Tony.
I'm definitely getting that.
And Morgan and Vernon just kind of cross each other. We didn't really interact, so nothing there.
Okay.
Should we put rivalry like Tony and Johnny?
That's probably not a bad idea. They weren't actually in the scene together, but I think that makes sense to throw that in.
Totally. Hippie versus
hippie versus cop.
Damn hippies.
Okay. So we've had our three. So now we've had our three introductory scenes. We've established some. We've established some relationships with each other. So for the next scene, we're going to. If we want, I'm just going to throw a new element in before we go on to the next scene, and that is it's Saturday mornings. I mean, it's a beautiful Saturday, so like the gates are just open to this community. I mean, yeah, it's a gated community, but they pretty much only close the gates at night because nothing ever happens in Magnolia Grove. This is the height of suburbia. There's nothing dangerous here, and no one thinks a minute when a pink Cadillac drives in, like. So we're now going to move to so we've had our three introductory scenes. We've established some relationships between some of these characters. We're now going to go into the scene that's called First Blood. So I think, Chuck, you haven't set a scene yet, correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so Chuck, you get to set this scene, and you are now playing the killer. And so the way this is going to work is you go ahead and establish the scene, like where it's going to take place. However, this time we have some constraints on who the cast of characters are. And the characters in this scene are the people with the smallest number of established relationships. So if you've got characters with no relationship set, those are going to be the one, those will be in the scene. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3. Looks like we've got 4 characters that don't have relationships yet. So 3 of these are going to be in this scene. And the way this is going to work, we're going to start the scene. We're going to start playing it out with the 3. We're each going to pick one of those characters. We're going to play the scene. We don't need to try to establish relationships because none of these characters are going to survive the scene. Because at some point, when the person who set the scene, you are playing the killer, because you can now say, you can then introduce the killer, and when it's time to start the killing, you say the killer strikes, and then you basically tell us how the killer is attacking each of these characters, and we, the players, basically get to describe how we die. So in this First Blood scene, we're just killing off some of these extraneous characters. Make sense?
Yeah.
So do we just grab them like we did the other ones?
Yeah, we just grab them the same way. So let me.
I'm gonna. Let
me just undo the color codes. Reset.
I already selected Arnie, so.
Oh, you got Arnie? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to grab.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Casper Wexler.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I don't want Maxine to die quite yet, so I'm gonna go with Helen. Okay, so and that's, we're gonna clear that. Okay, so Chuck, go ahead. So where is the scene going to take place? Now remember, this is going to be the killing scene, so I mean, I'm happy to give some options, but it's really up to you.
Does it? Okay, so.
And we can advance the clock too. If you want this to happen at night, we can certainly have it at night.
Somebody's backyard. So we didn't decide what the killer's name is.
No, we have not yet. We've just said, I think we've established that she's like a disarmingly charming looking, like middle-aged woman.
Like a pink suited. Okay.
And you said in somebody's backyard. I would point at the guy who's obsessed over his lawn. You might be able to catch him out there in the open.
I was going to mention that. It also might be good because you probably. It also might be good if we establish that. Maybe he's got a great lawn, but he's also got really high. He's got like really high privacy fences.
It's not a fence. It's a hedge that I've meticulously groomed, and with arches and borderlining bush sculptures.
I love it. And why are we? I guess my question is why are we there? If you had us over for tea, or showing off your latest topiary, or
I'm definitely showing off my new koi pond that I've installed in the back. And I know that Casper is going to be real into it because he is developing a restaurant area downtown, and he's talking about putting a fountain, and I was going to show him my koi pond. And
Helen's there because she has raised koi in the past and was giving you. And when you mentioned maybe it was in an HOA meeting, you mentioned that you needed to get special. Oh, you needed to get special clearance. You needed to get special clearance to put the koi pond in because it's not normally allowed by the bylaws. Morgan objected, but then Helen stood up and waxed poetic about how awesome it is to have koi.
And maybe Helen is somewhat of an expert, so she's.
Oh, okay, yeah. She knows from koi.
She's a busybody. Maybe she at least has convinced people she's an expert. So I've invited both you over there to inspect my new koi pond.
Oh, yeah. These look like they're coming along really well. I mean,
Arnie,
if this becomes a fad, this would be amazing for the neighborhood.
Good thing you've got the fencing around it, because the one problem, I mean, your pond's beautiful. You've got really healthy looking koi. I like your filtration system. That's you definitely went with the good one.
Thank you. I know a fair amount about irrigation and outdoor plumbing. Done a fair amount of that, so I'm happy.
I'm glad you sprung for the good irrigation, for the good filtration system, because if you don't, these ponds can turn like green and can be really unsightly. And the problem when that happens is when you want to put to kill that algae, you need to put some chemicals in there, and that isn't good for the koi. And so good filters.
Good filters. And I've also, if you see over here, I have a whole section of plants that actually use the algae as their food, as well as other things.
Excellent.
So it's sort of a total biodome. I forgot the right word.
You've done a great job with this. You've done a great job with this.
Hey, Arnie, I'm a little parched. You mind if I grab a glass of water from your kitchen?
Yeah, go on in. Grab me a beer while you're in there.
Sure, no problem. And he walks off through the back sliding door.
Cool.
And just point of order, Chuck. You can introduce the killer. You can introduce the killer basically any way you want, and they don't actually have to start a killing. If you want to introduce the killer as a character, we can do some interaction, but you then would have narrative control to say that, and the killer strikes.
Okay.
I hear the doorbell.
So, all right. So you see, like, coming around the side into the back, you see like a very prim looking blonde woman in a pink suit. She looks embarrassed. She says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to bother you. Bunny Blonde is my name. I tried ringing the bell. I didn't get, nobody answered, but I'm totally lost. and it's kind of embarrassing, but I'm desperately in need of facilities. Is there any way you can help me?
Oh, you poor dear, says. Oh, you poor dear, says Helen. And she and she looks at Arnie.
I say, yeah, you can go right on in. The half bath is the second door on the left. If you hit the kitchen, you've gone way too far.
Oh, God, you're a lifesaver. Thank you so much. Yeah,
what was your name again?
Bunny Blonde.
Oh, interesting.
All right, so Bunny goes into the house.
I'm going to say that Wexler is probably coming out of the kitchen with a beer bottle in one hand and a glass of water in the other, and she's a stunning blonde woman, or is she?
No, she's more like she's attractive, but somewhat. She's past her youth.
Okay.
She's like in her what, mid-40s.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, she's still attractive, but she's not like.
Okay, so he's holding the beer in one hand and the glass of water in the other. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you a friend? Do you need a libation as well? We got beer, we got water, we got juice."
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. Oh, Bunny Blonde is my name. Cosmetic saleswoman. I just got horribly lost, and I'm parched, and I'm looking for the powder room. I'm kind of in a desperate situation. They were kind enough to direct me into the house. Could you show me where the ladies' room is?
Sure. It's right down this way. You're parched? Do you want this glass of water? I haven't drinking from it yet.
I'm running to the ladies' room. Just a minute.
All right, so you need tries to shepherd her down to the bathroom.
All right, so if he's in front at some point.
Yeah. He'll be walking down the hallway in front of her.
I could see him leading her down the hallway to the bathroom. If you're, I think I might know where you're going with this, but
no, this, yeah.
All right, so as he's leading her, the killer strikes. She draws from her the breast of her pink suit a hideously long knife. Approaches him from behind, stabs him in the chest.
Stabs him. Okay, awesome. What is this? So what's the scene look like? No. So Casper, how do you die?
Okay, we'll say the knife strikes from behind, so he immediately irks and falls into the side of the hallway, and he's kind of confused. He doesn't know what's going on. He's trying to reach back around him to get whatever it is that's out of him, and he's he's isn't even screaming yet or anything like that. It's more like a gurgle, because it's probably already penetrated the lung.
I can see how he's more surprised than anything else.
Yeah, he's really shocked, and he's starts to try to get away from her and slide down basically the hallway wall or whatever, as he starts to expire, as his lungs are probably filling up with blood at this point.
Bunny Blonde kind of covers her mouth a little and giggles.
How does she get the other two characters? And of course, so I'd like to say, if we can cut to the outside. Wonder what's keeping Casper.
Arnie walks over, just not caring, and notices that there's one of the shrubs is a little bit not perfect, and he pulls out some small little micro shears and starts, cutting them a little bit, pruning here and there, almost like, intricate bonsai work, just.
All right, so The bunny blonde is going to drag Casper's body into the bathroom and close the door. And then when she goes back out, she says, "Oh yeah, I saw Casper. He went into the bathroom and I heard a strange sound. I knocked, but he didn't answer. I hope everything's okay. Maybe you want to check on him?"
I take my little shears and I tuck them back into my little overalls, and I walk back inside. Casper, are you okay?
Helen walks.
Gurgle.
Yeah, Helen walks in as well. Like follows follows Arnie into his house, and she then she looks at Bunny, who I assume is following behind Helen.
Right. Yeah.
And says, "Oh dear," you say you're lost. Where were you trying to find?
Oh, I was trying to find the Greenwood Mall.
Oh, you're a few miles. Oh, you're quite far from there.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
You must have gotten off. You must have gotten off at exit 34 instead of 43. I'm sure that's what happened.
Oh, how silly of me.
I see Arnie sees the blood on the floor, and he's like, "What is that? Is that blood?" And he starts banging on the door. Casper, are you okay? Casper.
Okay. So
I was going to say you have and Chuck, you have narrative control here if you want to end the scene by telling us how these two characters also get killed.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say she with the if Arnie's kind of making noise and checking stuff out, she's going to take the opportunity to dispatch Helen. She draws the knife again from her little pink suit.
Oh my! Oh my! I'm surprised you carry that thing around. Are you afraid? Are you afraid of prowlers?
All right, so Bunny covers her mouth a little and giggles again, and then she doesn't really even tuck the knife away. She goes in to finish off Arnie.
Arnie's able to get the door open, and Casper just falls into his hands all bloody, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And I look over.
All right, so he turns around. He sees Bunny Blonde, she's poised. Just
I love it. Okay, I think that is our first blood scene. There's now three bodies, and there's three bodies conveniently in Arnie's house. So I presume Bunny can. I think if I could have a scene, Bunny cleans the knife on. I'll say Helen, cleans the knife on Helen's dress, puts it back away, looks in the bathroom mirror over the two bodies, straightens her hair, walks out, pulls the door behind her, and gets in her car. And it's the top of the hour. Why don't we call a 5-minute break, and we'll come back, and we will continue playing. And we're back. Okay, we are now in we're now in regular play. So now our now if you want to click the card table link, you want to have that up, because now we're going to actually do some resolution to figure out who survives the scene. So the way the rest of the scenes go, it's again, similar thing. Whoever's playing the killer frames the scene, establishes what's there. You as the players each figure out the characters that are going to be in this scene. And we just start role playing until such time as the killer shows up. And again, the killer may interact with the characters a little bit to continue like role playing, but then the killer can say the killer strikes. Now we're going to use cards to figure out to resolve the scene. So if anyone, so I don't know if folks have used playingcards.io before, but the way it works is basically when it's your turn, you grab one of the cards and you drag it to that like big rectangle at the bottom of the screen. That's where you put your hand, and you can reveal it there to look at what your card is. When it's your turn, you take one card plus an additional card for every relationship that your character has, and we'll get to that when it's time to the resolution. But so like for example, if Elijah McLeod is in the scene, he'd actually draw 3 cards: one for himself, one for his rivalry with Brock, and one for his frenemy relationship with Johnny. If the character that you have a relationship with is dead, doesn't matter. You still get the extra cards. During the scenes, it's possible for relationships to change. So, so rivals could become frenemies, allies could become rivals. We'll figure that out as we do the role play. And if that happens, we'll make that change like before the killer strikes. And then so when it's time for the killer to strike, so the killer basically takes the top card and flips it over and puts it on that and drags it over to the killer tablet on the table. And so the killer then can do one of two things. They can either select a specific victim and attempt to kill them, and then you play war. Or the killer can also choose to attack everybody in the scene. And the way that and then we'll do that resolution, and then whoever gets killed, and whoever lives. When the killer attacks everybody in a scene, somebody does have to live. So even if all of the victims would lose, we still narrate whoever has the high card can get away. Now, when you play a card, if someone else is in the scene with you that has a relationship with you, they can choose to, if they are a friend, if they want to help you and they are either a friend or a frenemy, once you've played your card, and if you were going to lose, if they have a higher card, they can play their card for you. So let's say that if if Elijah and Johnny were in the same scene and the killer tried to kill Elijah, and say the killer played an 8 and Elijah's highest card is a 6, he plays a 6. But if Johnny was in the scene and he wanted to help Elijah, and he had a 9, he could play a 9 for Elijah, which means Elijah lives. You can do that if you're in the scene. You can do it even after the killer has tried to kill you and failed. You can still help someone else. If you are an enemy, you can instead play a card to replace the killer's card with that card. So if you want to help the killer, so if you were an enemy if you were an enemy with the other character and you want that other character dead, you can replace the killer's card with a higher card than the victim, which means the killer gets that victim. The scene is over if the killer is attacking people one at a time. The scene is over whenever the first character dies, and then we narrate how that character dies and how everyone else gets away. Make sense? Okay. We'll figure. I mean. So we'll. So I think it's back to me. I'm going to frame the scene. So I think the scene is going to be. Let's say this gated community. It's near the park. There's another outbuilding that's sort of like the community center, and it's got a small recreation room. And let's say that there's some people in the there. This is going to take place in the rec room in the community center. So you all can figure out who you want to play.
I'm gonna take Elijah, my Scottish caretaker.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ethan Hale because I can see him being there in the recreation center. Let's see here. Purple.
Okay. So we got Elijah, we got Ethan.
All right, I'll play Tony.
Play Tony. Okay.
He's just hanging out, kind of keeping an eye and stuff.
So we got Ethan, Elijah, and Tony that are in the rec room.
Okay. Ethan's gonna be, let's say, have a pool table in the rec room. So he's gonna be. Can we say this is a little bit later in the day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say yeah. This is probably. I think now it's like mid to late afternoon.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think we'll say. And I'd also like to say, we've had a couple of scenes of Bunny Blonde actually selling cosmetics to people, like just like tense music as she knocks on the door and she's let in, and then quick scene of her like leaving and the still alive homeowner like waves her on.
Okay, so yeah, so Ethan's gonna be playing pool, just relaxing, maybe with the cop. They're not friends or enemies or anything like that, but in the same place.
Elijah is on top of a 15-foot ladder, replacing some burned out what are those called? Fluorescent lights.
The big fluorescent tubes.
Yeah, the big tubes.
Awesome.
So he's got whole belt clip full of tools, and he's precariously hanging up there like replacing bulbs.
And Chuck, who are you bringing to this party? Oh, that's right, you're bringing Tony.
Yeah. So Tony's just kind of he's hanging out. He's kind of shaking his head, watching a baseball game. He's like, I don't know. I bet on these jerks costing me $50 again.
Yeah, you can't be affording gambling on a cop salary, now can you? Ethan says snidely.
Yeah, Elijah's like, go over and try to turn the lights on.
Hold a second. Let me just do this shot and crack. The sound of the billiards hits and like that. And he walks over to the wall light and just like a lazy rich asshole, just flips the light switch with the pull stick from a distance.
I guess that wasn't the right one. So I changed the wrong light bulb. So I'm re-switching those back out. You're muted.
Harry, you muted.
Oh, sorry. Aren't you supposed to not touch those? Don't those things explode?
Don't be such a pansy.
Well, I've never changed one. Our housekeeper does it for us.
3-run homer, of course. Why did he bring in the lefty here?
All right.
From the from the windows that's from the window that's you can see the like the small parking lot. A pink Cadillac pulls up, and a woman in like a pink woman in a pink dress comes out and walks into the rec room and kind of like looks around. Oh, hello, gentlemen.
Oh,
How you doing?
hello.
Didn't you see the sign at the front of the park? It says no outside salespeople.
Oh, I didn't see such a sign. I've been doing some rather brisk sales. I was actually going to ask. Actually going to ask if there was a way that I could. I was going to ask if I could, perhaps rent this facility later in the week to perhaps do a more formal sale for it, because I think this is such a lovely community, and you seem to be exactly the sort of clientele I'm looking for. She smiles.
Yeah, you have to go talk to Morgan. She's in charge of the homeowners association. She drives a hard bargain. While you're over there, hit that switch. Hit that switch for me.
Why, certainly. She goes over to the switch, and just as and the killer strikes. So Bunny walks over to the light switch, and she walks over to the light switch and says, I see what you're doing. Oh, I see what you're doing. It's just shocking." And at that, from her purse, she draws from her purse, she pulls this like throwing dagger, and she throws it. She throws it like expertly, and it sticks into the light fixture, like right where you're up there. It goes into the light fixture. I love it. It goes through your hand into the light fixture, making a circuit, and so Elijah just
right into that.
His hair stands on end, and it's smoking, and then he falls off. Then he falls off the ladder with a huge crash.
Ethan immediately starts screaming like a girl. High pitch.
To which Bunny says, like, "Oh, come on! Oh, come! Oh, come on! You have She says, and as he's screaming like a girl, she takes the pool cue out of his hand. She just kind of takes the pool cue out of his hand and says, "Your technique is all wrong." Ashes him over the back of the head with the pool cue. It's which breaks. She then grabs his head and smashes it a couple of times against the edge of the pool table, and he just slumps over.
All right, so Tony, he's not even really comprehending what he's seeing, but with like a extremely delayed reaction, he sits up, he gets up, he doesn't know what else to do. He's just like, he starts to reach for his sidearm.
I like, so he pulls, Tony pulls, oh, geez, I'm sorry. I'm doing the wrong kind of scene. I was thinking this is, so this is what she was trying to do. I'm sorry. I got the rules wrong. We need to resolve this with the game. I'm sorry. I was thinking this is another First Blood scene, and it's not. Forgive me. So let's do the first thing. Let's do the knife throw first. So go ahead and oh yeah, not great.
So I get to draw cards first, right?
Yeah. Everyone draw a card plus an additional card for every relationship that you have.
Do we need to go in order? So it's
so we're going against. So she is going against Elijah first. So Elijah, draw 3 cards. Draw 3 cards because you've got 2 relationships plus 1.
Right. Okay. So
And then
that should have been my card. That 2 should have been my card.
You know what? Let's do. You are correct. I'm gonna do a recall and shuffle.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and everyone go ahead and draw into your hand a number of cards equals to 1 plus the number of your rivalries or relationships. So so she's going after Elijah first. She got a 5. She got a 5 of hearts. Can you beat a 5 of hearts?
Can I?
So go ahead and play a card, and you want to put it on. Pick the first tablet. Oh, you got a queen. Okay. So I'm going to say she. So she throws this knife at Elijah, and trying to zap him, but how do you avoid this? How do you avoid getting hit by this flying knife?
I see it out of the corner of my eye, and we do a little flashback to the fact that this guy was actually a college cricket player. Do they play cricket in Scotland?
Absolutely.
Sure. Or golf. He played golf. They play golf in Scotland. And just out of habit, cricket makes more sense because it's a projectile. He takes the fluorescent bulb in his hand and is able to like hit it away like a baseball bat, like in a superhuman feat of strength and reflexes.
Okay. Yeah, you knock that card. You knock that knife away. At the same time, and as that happens, that's when she takes that's when she takes the pool cue out of Ethan's hand and attempts to crack him over the back of the head with it. And only gets a 3. Only gets a 3. Can you beat a 3? That's a yes. Okay. So go ahead and tell us how you are able to evade getting.
Okay. So he was screaming like a little girl. It was in shock. She grabbed the pool cue, swung it at the side of his head, but just on instinct, he puts his arm up and it cracks over his arm or whatever, and he grabs it and just stumbles out of the way, and he just starts, squealing and starts just running for the door as fastly as he can, holding his hurt arm.
Got it. Okay, yeah, and basically we keep doing this until someone gets killed. So at that, she picks a billiard ball off of the table, and like hurl and like pitches it as if she were a major league pitcher, like right at Tony's head. And I got a king. Can you beat a king?
I think so.
Okay, it looks like that was. So it looks like a 6 is. So 6 was your high card. That's not going to beat the king.
Would I get more though? Because.
Oh! You did draw already. Okay, yeah, you get. Yeah, so you actually can. You've got 4. So Tony's got 4 relationship sets. So I'm sorry, got 3 relationship sets. So you actually can draw 3 more cards. Pull them down into that rectangle at the bottom.
Oh.
And that's your hand. So you draw those there, and no one else can see them.
Oh, okay.
So you already. We'll count the 6. But if you've got if you got a card that can beat a king, you can go ahead and play it.
Not.
Okay. Basically, play your highest card. If that is the 6, we can just leave it there. Okay. If anyone is either a friend or anyone in the scene is a friend or a frenemy of Tony, and I'm thinking that's a no. So how's this? So or maybe, you know what I like even better? Maybe Tony like saw what's happening, pulls out his, like draws a sidearm. She throws as as he's pulling his sidearm, she like throws this billiard ball right at him, and it hits his hand just at the wrong angle. The gun goes off, and it just like and it's like this fountain of red comes out of the back of his head. And the scene ends with the first death, and the other 2 characters can narrate how they escape.
Yeah, it was easy for Ethan. He just ran straight as an arrow, straight out the door, screaming like a little girl the whole way.
Nice.
So Elijah fell off the ladder as he was swinging, and he lands on the floor right as she is then like attacking
Ethan?
What was it? Ethan, yes.
Okay.
And what Elijah knew is that underneath the pool table, near where he fell, is a duct that a drainage sort of thing. So he crawls under there, drags the grate out, and just slithers under the ground through the.
He ducks into the drainage. The drainage,
because this place used to also double as like just all purpose space, so it has drains there.
Nice. How does Ethan get in? And Ethan just like ran for the door screaming. I think you established that.
He just went straight out the door screaming like
okay.
a girl.
Yeah. That is the scene. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. We only got another half hour of play, so I don't think we're actually going to get to the end. But let's do another scene, and let's do another scene. Let's see where it goes. Who would like to frame this? Who would like to be the killer next time? Go for it, Clint.
Okay. So now we are on the kind of outskirts of the area of the division. I can't remember, suburb. In this like little like wooded area, there's a picnic area that has like a shelter you could sit under, but like around it, it's mostly woods, and in the corners, some people are all having a campfire, and they're roasting marshmallows to make s'mores.
Nice. Oh, there's briefly there is one other game mechanic. When you a character that successfully escapes the killer gets a unit called a star, and you can use a star to draw another card. And you can do that one, and you can draw as many cards, and then resets it every scene. So that's a number of extra cards you can draw in a scene. So the more you survive, the more likely you are to survive, sort of.
Quick question: the cards that we drew from the past one, do those all get recalled?
Yep, they all get. I already hit. I hit recall and shuffle. So yeah, so everything gets reset at the start of every scene.
So I still have.
Can I pick the same character again? Because I have an idea for Ethan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and recall all cards here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, if you want to pick the same character again, absolutely. I'm gonna be. We're making s'mores by a campfire. It's evening.
Yeah. So 3 of these characters are making s'mores.
I think Johnny is I think Johnny Moon is totally there. Oh yeah, he's totally there for the s'mores. He's probably eating more than his share.
All right, so let's say, can we do Maxine even though she has no relationships?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, so Johnny is an acquaintance of hers and convinced her to come along just to help her, maybe decompress from work stress, COVID stress, like deadbeat dad stress, all that stuff.
Okay, so Clint, we're at a little area in the woods, kind of like behind. There's
it's not quite forest, but it's also definitely not like the neighborhood. It's kind of like this middle ground between nature and civilization.
Maybe this is the maybe this is the actual Magnolia Grove. Of which our development got the name.
Tree.
It's kind of a park.
Yeah, well, that's what the picnic shelter's for and all this stuff. But right next to the lone magnolia.
And there's like a fire pit, and people built kind of a fire that's probably a little too big for the place, but we got a bonfire going.
This is the 90s. We didn't care about the environment.
So Johnny's there. He's sitting near the fire on a Baja blanket, and he's just got a stick with a couple of marshmallows on it, and he's like holding them into the fire. Man, have you ever really looked into a fire?
In the distance, you hear this strange, like kind of a high-pitched whine and it's getting slightly louder as Ethan comes, running from the suburb towards the bonfire. He trips like 3 times before he finally gets there, and he's holding his arm or like that, and he's in complete hysterics. He's like, "Oh, you gotta run! Call the cops! She killed the cop! Come on!"
Whoa! Ethan! Take a deep breath in, man. Hold it and let it out. What's the matter, man? Just calm.
No, crazy lady.
The killer strikes. So, right as Ethan breathes in, a little dart goes in, sticks him on the neck. You hear that sound off in the distance.
Okay, so I have 2 friendships and 1 star, so that's 3. So I need to draw 4 cards.
Correct.
So does everyone draw before we do?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and go in. Everyone all the players draw the number of draw their cards. Again, that's 1 card. That's 1 card for 1 card for being you. 1 additional card for every relationship, and an additional card for every star. And then and that goes into your hand. Don't play them yet until.
I just got 1.
Got it. Okay, and then so the killer is targeting Ethan. So Killer, go ahead and turn over a top card.
Jack of Diamonds.
Can you beat a Jack of Diamonds? Basically, you play your highest card. Yeah, you don't play it there. Play it on your one of the player tabs. Oh, there we go. So how do you?
Okay.
So
okay, so the dart hits him, and what you call it, he's still in hysterics. He's like, what's that? And he's like, hey, I feel pretty good. I think I'm fine. And he just starts walking almost in kind of like a haze, just away from the fire into the woods. He just walks.
Got it.
Shambles away.
Okay. You are still in the scene. What does the killer do?
So out of nowhere, the fire just completely extinguished itself, almost as if like a bunch of water just landed on it. Just so you just fall into complete darkness.
Okay. Whoa! What happened? And Ethan, are you okay? And at that,
crazy lady.
And Clint is who will the killer target next?
So here's what
I mean, what were you thinking with the scene?
Well, so that I was given you two that I hadn't attacked a chance to run or do so, or do I just do it all at once?
Oh no, yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, basically, there's a couple of ways we can do this. One is we can like figure out the mechanics first and then build a scene around that. But since we're all here, we can just kind of like go in sequence, and you attack one, and if that doesn't work, you attack someone else, and if that doesn't work, you attack someone else. What were you thinking? Yeah.
Well, I was trying to give you a chance to do something, so then I could react to it, other than just I kill you.
Okay.
There's nothing for me to play off of right now because you're standing there. I was hoping to like either split you up or just like have you try something, and then I would use what you did.
Okay, I see what you're trying to do. Okay. So
I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to play it or not, but
I mean, it's you basically play the scene however it would. How whatever makes most sense, and I like that. So the fire goes out, and Johnny like stands up, like what, Ethan, what, like, and as he's looking around. At the same time, he's pulling the marsh. He kind of pulls the marshmallow off and like pops it into his mouth. Like, oh man, these are so good. Ethan, what crazy lady? What are you talking about? What'd you do to the fire, man?
Crazy lady, and then he falls down to his knees, and he falls down onto his side. It's like stars up there.
Johnny gets down on it. Johnny gets down on his knees and puts his hands on Ethan's shoulders. Like, come on, man, stay with me. What you take, man?
So the killer strikes, and the camera is looking up at Johnny. Almost like from the POV of Ethan, and he's like, "Come on, what are you doing?" And then you see a hand come around the back with a handful of marshmallows, and just starts cramming it fist over fist with marshmallows, and like to where like you can't breathe, and basically using a handful of marshmallows as chloroform mask to suffocate you with.
I love it.
Pink sleeve, pink nail polish.
Got it. So go ahead and turn over another card on this attack.
All right. And it's an 8 of hearts.
Okay. I am going to counter that with a 10 of diamonds. So she's like, she starts like shoving marshmallows in his mouth. I'm like, oh, hey, slow down. Those are good, but slow down. And at that, he stands up and like steps behind Ethan to see who it is who is way too eagerly trying to feed him marshmallows.
So, where's Maxine right now?
She was sitting at the campfire, and then she was getting up to see Ethan had like a puncture wound or something. She was going to evaluate.
Yeah. So the killer attacks. She has pushed down. There's too many characters. Who was I just suffocating with?
You're trying to suffocate Johnny.
Johnny, that's right. So she's kind of pushed him down with one hand, and then she takes the poker that's covered in marshmallows and tries to stab it right through Maxine's, like, whatever you call this, like, empty spot below the jaw.
I'm just going to say, for the sake of argument, it was like a metal shish kebab skewer that people were using.
It had like the two prongs.
On the two prongs at the end, yeah.
All right. And I got a 2 of hearts. Man, this is not going well for
it's not going well for her. And Maxine, I think you had the 7, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so and we just kind of keep going. So we still have so many of us still have cards. Those of if you don't have cards and the killer attacks you again, you just draw another card, and it's really pretty much straight like war.
So I miss with the dagger, but she's right between me and the fire pit, and I football ram her into the fire pit.
So you're gonna go for Maxine again? Okay, got it.
Yes. Got a 9.
Versus.
Oh.
These characters are living.
This almost never happens. Usually it's Carnage Central.
As I'm using that momentum to push Maxine, I pull out my trusty blade that's been doing all the other killing, and I try to stab Johnny through the back of the neck.
Okay.
5. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't beat that.
Do you have any helpers?
Johnny, Brock, Tony, and Elijah. No one else is in the scene. I mean, Tony's dead. Johnny, Elijah, and Brock aren't in the scene. So yeah, this will end the scene. Yeah. So I'm gonna say Johnny was basically trying to help and protect Elijah, but that's when that's when the Mary Kay killer comes behind. I mean, she just like steps behind him and just like grabs his shoulder, puts a knife around her neck, and just cuts his throat.
And the blood just pours out all over Ethan.
He's screaming again like a girl.
Got it. So that's how the final. So we're more or less at time. We don't really have time to do another scene. So that's the final girl. So that's how this game goes. We just continue to go through scenes like this until until everyone's dead. Until we have one last. Until there's only one left. And then we basically play at the final confrontation scene, and then the person who was playing the largest number of who was playing the largest number of characters that are dead gets to do a little epilogue scene as well. And that's this game. Back when I did in-person cons, this is one of my favorite games to do as little pickup games, because all you need is this and a deck of playing cards and index cards.
I would say that I'm pretty sure Ethan survives, right? I think.
I was going to say, why don't we go ahead and I think it's pretty clear that Ethan somehow survives this. And maybe he learns a lesson.
By random luck.
And he learns a lesson on how not to be such a douchebag.
How not to hit golf balls into other people's windows.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the game. But since I think most of us have only played it once, I haven't played it at all or like that. we should have tried to get the characters that actually had relationships with each other in the scenes. I was just, picking random characters. I wasn't even noticing. I wasn't even looking at it mechanically or whatever. So
Yep.
I think
that's fine.
It would have, been a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, that helps. You can do things like when you have characters that have the relationships in the same scene, then you can do things. Then you can like sabotage the other scenes. If someone's attacking someone before you, like one thing you can do is like, well, I'm going to help the killer kill my rival because that's going to end the scene. So I'm going to survive. So I'm going to survive the scene.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, thanks. I really enjoyed it too. I think this is I thought this was a fun game. I wish we had a little more time that we could keep going, because I think another 45 minutes, an hour, we'd get to the end. But yeah, this is fun. I just want to say thanks. I want to say thanks everyone. I think we had some great role playing here. Ethan, what a douche, and of course he's the one who's going to survive.
Yeah, the tone was different than I thought it would be, but it was fun.
Yeah, I think we ended up going more like action humor.
Yeah.
Black comedy.
Yeah, more like black comedy. This is definitely more like Friday the 13th, or like this is more like Friday the 13th Part 3 than or I'm sorry, this is more like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 than Friday the 13th Part 1.
Yeah, we're like Silence of the Lambs or something.
Yeah,
but naming her Bunny Blonde was awesome.
Bunny Blonde was fantastic.
It was really amazing.
That was great.
Especially like the giggling part. It was really good.
The Mary Kay Killer. I think that might be the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wouldn't, because Mary Kay Cosmetics would have probably filed an injunction.
Yeah.
The tagline would have said, "Don't blush."
That's fantastic. Any other comments? I sometimes do a little exercise called Stars and Wishes, where people kind of go around the table and say and like call out things that they particularly liked. Bunny Blonde, that was very cool. Great name. And establishing Ethan as just like the kind of character from a 90s movie.
Yeah, but I was just gonna role play him the rest of the time, just as completely inept and almost like a running scene, if I could have, because he goes to each one. It would have been interesting. But no, I was basically trying to get him killed.
I've often found it's hard to get a character killed when you're playing a role-playing game. It just happens on its own. You can't walk into it.
Yeah. That generally, that's definitely true. Definitely true. Well, if there, anyone have any other final thoughts?
No, Michael or Mike. Thanks for.
Okay,
it's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks so much, folks. I really enjoyed playing. I wish my one wish is I wish we had another 45 minutes to like finish it, but I kind of have a hard stop here.
Good. It was really good. I mean, like, fortunately, none of the safety stuff was necessary.
Yeah,
it's like for a bunch of random people, you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, playing on the Gauntlet, like part of the Gauntlet code of conduct is all games must be played with safety tools. All safety tools must be explained at the start. I always play all of my games with safety tools. I just find it makes the game more fun.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's rare to have to engage them, but when you have to, it's so good to have them there.
Yeah.
Because I've been in games that didn't have safety tools that did not go so well. That really needed them.
Yeah. And look, if that's not the kind of table you want to be at, then don't be at that table.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. I had a blast. I hope I get I hope I get a chance to play with all of you at some point in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
I post I post games pretty frequently on the Gauntlet, and we do run we run a quarterly online convention as well. We just had one a couple of weeks ago. I don't think the next one's scheduled yet, but it'll probably be in the fall sometime.
Well, if you, I think I saw your name on the copy of Bat Hack that I got or whatever.
Bat Hack? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not published a game yet, although I'm working on a couple.
Oh no! I mean, it said like that you wanted to play test it or whatever.
Oh yeah. Bat Hack. Yeah, I did want to. I do want to play. I do want to play Bat Hack. That's Rich Rogers. That's Rich Rogers' baseball role-playing game. I really want to play that.
Yeah, same here. So I'm hoping to see you in that one.
Got it. All right, gentlemen. I think I'm gonna call this. Before I end this, is it okay if I post this video? If you would prefer that, if you would prefer me make it private and review it before I post it, that's also fine. But if it's cool, give me a thumbs up. If you want to think about it, absolutely fine. If you want to think about it.
All good. Thank you, man.
Okay, I'll check with you. I'll check in with you, Chuck, via email.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, folks. Have a great night.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, bye-bye.